This is my Mission to Mars game. Basically, you start up by waking up on your Mars base. And so we'll hit enter to wake up. And
Good morning.
there's that computer AI that welcomes you to being awake. And this room here I modeled, and fortunately I modeled it really quickly in about 20 minutes, so couldn't add much detail because did not have the time to, but I just wanted to get something in there. The bed, one of my team members, I told them to give me a bed asset, and so they worked really hard on this bed asset, and it looks alright. And this entire base was modeled by me, and I implemented the opening of the doors. My teammates did the sound, and my other teammate Ben designed the actual UI functionality of that. Then we had sort of figured out how to get using two cameras at slightly different sort of perspectives to get sort of a weird UI feel to it, so it would feel sort of like Google Glasses was our intention. Seems to work alright, however I wish we would have tweaked it some more, as it stays locked into the original position and doesn't change its center once you open the door, which that's kind of weird, but it works for now. So yeah, I modeled these doors and this environment here, so I made this glass shader, and you can see out onto our Mars landscape, see what's going on there. These plants were something I grabbed from the Unity Assets store, and they didn't have many free plants available, and so the only ones I could find ended up being marijuana plants, which is fairly funny, I think. Going here, and then this room, we've got these boxes, which are our team member June modeled those, and I wouldn't say he's the best modeler in the world, but he's really good at making textures, so he's got a really good talent at that. And especially he's really good for props and stuff, and so this base I did all the textures for. They're not too crazy, but they work. This base would, if I given another 2 weeks, I'd have this base really nice looking inside with like a bunch of computer consoles and stuff. Basically, you know, just had time to model the props. It would look awesome. So here's the airlock, and we can go outside, and as you'll notice, the doorway opens up wrong relative to the stairs. And I unfortunately noticed this after I had finished modeling. You know, we only had a day left to finish this, so I didn't have time to get this switched back around the correct way. So instead I just added a trigger making front of us, which you'll soon see.
Mars sure is beautiful. It's a shame the engineers installed this door the wrong way.
So yeah, I'm quickly making fun of myself. And you can close this and walk down these stairs, and I'm really happy with how these stairs came out. I think they look pretty awesome. I haven't modeled a lot of staircases in my day, but yeah, these ones I was going for sort of a sort of retro, sort of atomic sort of style of them, which I think turned out well. And I think the base looks decent on the outside. I didn't really have time to put much effort into the texture of this main part. which I would have liked to have some like NASA logos and stuff on there, but unfortunately I didn't get to that. This rocket ended up turning out really well, I think. So you can walk over to this rocket here, and this rocket is basically the main point of our game. So we get a little thing here. This is the 10th and last rocket used to launch samples. That wasn't displayed for enough time. But yeah, basically this is it sends samples you collect on Mars into orbit, right? And for NASA to come and pick up. Unfortunately, there's not a rocket, so you can return back to Earth. You're going to die on Mars. But at least you get to send your research and stuff back. And so the whole gameplay here is designed around, you go to this rocket, right, and you want to launch it, but unfortunately it's broken. So I'll try and launch it, and you get this.
Error number 372,684. I am not sure what is wrong with the Manticom. You should find some parts to fix it.
So yeah, so the gameplay aspect is yeah, this is broken, and you gotta find the parts to fix it. Design-wise, you know, I didn't work on the design of the game, and I kind of think it's a little hokey gameplay-wise, but yeah, I guess it works. But yeah, this whole rocket model is something I created in the entirety of about 5 hours, and I think it came out pretty well. And it's cool once you get to interact with it with the samples. So yeah, the samples here, we don't have any. Once we get some samples, we can select which one we want to load and load it into the rocket. And I didn't have enough time. I would have liked to make a cool like screen texture on here and have you interact with the screen instead of going over here and interacting with the rocket. But yeah, so yeah, this whole terrain is something I made. We were originally going to base the terrain around an exact Mars location. However, we tried a few different iterations of that, and it ended up looking pretty lame. So I sculpted a terrain play area in ZBrush, right, and I took it into World Machine and was able to basically you know, you can erode it and add some cool stuff, and made a really cool looking terrain. And then you bring that into Unity as a height map. I really would have liked more time to specifically work on the terrain with adding in custom rock meshes and blending those in with the terrain, which I had experimented with earlier in the project, but for this final version I just didn't have, you know, any time to focus on that when there's so many other stuff going on. And then so this rover is also another one of my assets. This actually took a pretty long time to model. I actually have this fully UV mapped. I just never had time to paint the textures for it, unfortunately. So yeah, I just used some simple shaders in Unity to color it, and yeah, I really would have liked get something better on those wheels and paint some dirt under there and whatnot. And yeah, model-wise, I think it looks pretty good. It'd be a lot better if those headlights were white, because they are emitting light though. One of the Disney game developers who played our game was really impressed by the Rover, and he said that it reminded him of Samus for Metroid, which I never realized that when I was modeling, but after he pointed that out, I'm like, that's really funny, because yeah, it looks just like Samus. We won't go into the Rover yet. Let's talk more about the gameplay. So this is just a random art asset that my teammate June modeled. I think it's supposed to be a pile of rocks or something you've collected. I'm not really sure what it is, but put it next to the base 'cause, yeah, it looked like it was appropriate to go there. Also on the back of the base we have some of these crazy solar panel things, which yeah, I wish we had more in the solar panel design. And my teammate Orion modeled those. So basically we designed the layout of this game, so as soon as you came out of the base, and it was important I had the stairs actually going here to the left, so we designed so as soon as you come out of the base, the first thing you see and want to go to is the rocket. So we're trying to visually guide the player to the rocket, right? And then also this sample shouldn't be here. Sort of had it there for testing, and it should have been moved to another one of the locations. But this one of the samples you can grab for the rocket, and the sample mesh is I created that asset. So but once you pick this up, you'll learn a little bit about the bacteria. And then for parts, instead of modeling separate parts, we just made these toolboxes, right? Which they give you parts, and then as I was making them, I had the design idea that we'll just have the computer AI tell you about each part you get. And so there's 4 different parts, so you can't win the game until you have all the parts. So here we go.
You found a composite. This may be the part you need to fix the T-con return rocket.
And that's also a design issue on my error that I didn't really think out, that explains about the broken rocket before you get to the rocket. So yeah, that's bad design on my part. But you got that part, so you need a few more parts. Now we'll enter the Rover. And so we're now inside the Rover, and you can look around here. I really wanted to make like a cool interface in here that gives you real-time feedback on what you're doing, but just not enough hours in a day, you know. And a control scheme of this Rover is something I'm really unhappy with. Basically accelerate by holding W, and accelerates kind of slowly. Luckily the sound came out pretty well on this. You brake just by hitting back, right? And you also hit space. It doesn't brake that fast. You can rotate by holding R and W, and that's my biggest grip. I think you should rotate by holding S. But yeah, so yeah, basically with this we designed it so you wanted to see that smoke billowing up there. And also there's a design issue with this model, and that I thought it'd be cool to have this tab, you know, coming out in front here, but that ended up really blocking your vision when you're going up hills. But yeah, you're supposed to see this smoke billowing out here, and yeah, accelerate forward. And here's the drill. And that asset was made by my teammate Ryan. He also made this parachute thing. Now if we get out here, and look around the area, guess what you'll find? You'll find the gypsum. So we got that, and now let's continue on. And I actually want to speed up this game a little bit, so I'm gonna cheat. And so of course we have a debug mode, and so one of the features I had the debug mode is just super fast running. Actually a lot of fun, even though it's not an actual gameplay mechanic. So here we go, super fast running. We can quickly move around the interface, the world, and this really helped playtest this game a lot, see if things were working. So this spectrometer model is made by in June, and we got the etching, and now we get our next part.
You found that igniter. Maybe this will get that rocket burning.
And if we go over here, we can now see this crater, which was based off the Victorian crater. And I thought it ended up coming out pretty well. However, it was problematic as it was sort of perfectly set up in here, right? Then someone deleted this asset from our project and recommitted our project, and then so I just, like, at the last minute had to re-add this. I didn't have time to re-sculpt the terrain around it to fit it, so the terrain pokes through in a few areas, which is kind of weird. But yeah, let's get that tool.
You found a capacitor.
Alright, got the capacitor, and there's also supposed to be another sample somewhere around here. Luckily you don't need all the samples to complete the game, so I'm not going to look that hard for it. If you go over here, you can find this horrible thing.
I am full of all sorts of information.
And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. That trigger is also kind of positioned weird. So we'll go back over here, and if you go up into this valley here, we can get the last part we need. Also, program like the first-person controller for this, I'm really unhappy with. If you jump, you can run right up an edge. Like, that is horrible. I blame our programmer Ben for that. But anyways, here it is. And just see that beautiful bottom. That's all scratched up.
You found the elusive gyroscope. Without one of these, the rocket could veer off course.
Yep, we found the gyroscope. Awesome. And the bacteria was supposed to be there, and yeah, at the beginning of the base, like you saw, and that was supposed to be deleted. So now we got all the parts we need to complete the game, and so let's get back to the rocket and see the most satisfying aspect of the game. You also might be noticing right now the really obvious draw distance issue on these rocks, and that's because our artists, I told them all the rocks, made these way too high poly, and so when you start scattering a bunch of them around, it starts to really slow down the game, so I had to cut the draw distance so I could have some rocks in the game. So it is a trade-off. But ideally you'd want to model your rocks to be as low poly as possible, like, you know, maybe 6-10 sides. Each one of those is like 100 polygons. Way too much for how small they are. But anyways, back at the rocket, we can now select which sample we want to load. And this is my favorite part of the game. And yeah, I programmed all of this. So what you do is let's do the gypsum. And so we selected that, and then I just press E, and it'll load it. And so it actually loads it into the rocket and back, and that's pretty cool. And so now we're ready to launch the rocket. So there we go. The Eagle has landed, and now really it's your choice to decide when you want to end the game. You can all you gotta do is press escape, and that's the end of the game. So as you'll see, it's kind of fun if you want to use the jump hack and launch yourself up in the air and flying. This is one of my favorite parts in the game, which is just the debug feature, unfortunately. And we will end it. Alright. So now we learn about our sample. And it's a thriving success. And yeah. That is last mission to Mars. Yeah, thanks for watching.